What's going on, everybody? This is Black Men Sundays. I'm your host, Corey Sylvester Murray, and we're talking about generational wealth, finance, business, and of course, mental health.
It's a Black Man Sunday. Time to put all childish things away. I refuse to be the man I was yesterday. Gotta put my best foot forward and elevate.
And on today's show, we're speaking to Dundee Gwinn. This brother migrated from Haiti to South Florida. This brother served 5 years on the advisory board of the Salvation Army, and currently, this brother's living in Hyde Park, Chicago, freezing his butt off as the managing director of Northwestern Mutual. So, without further ado, Dundee Gwinn, man, welcome to Black Men Sundays, brother. How you doing?
I'm doing well, man. Thank you. Glad to be here, man. Glad to be able to be on this platform and looking forward to our conversation today.
So I just want to jump right in, man. A lot of cats want to hear the finance and the business part, but I'm noticing there's a trend going on social media. The quarter zip. I'm like, I remember the quarter zip when I was a kid, but the quarter zip's back. I see a lot of brothers wearing it. A lot of brothers. It's almost like a black empowerment movement. Am I reaching too far? And let's talk about that right off top.
No, I love how you just brought that up, and I'm noticing it too. It's a thing. It's catching on with a lot of people. But to me, I think it just symbolizes maturity and discipline, and perhaps maybe just looking into like stepping into a new season of life. And where what I'm looking at it and how I'm experiencing is that young men are basically prioritizing their image and career growth and stability more openly and not feeling shy about that to just express self in a professional manner. I think it reflects a cultural shift towards wanting structure, confidence, and just showing up with their leadership and who they want to be.
Let's clarify some people. What's a quarter zip?
What's funny enough is I almost rocked it today for you, man. Like, I mean, right now I got the shirt underword. So, a quarter zip is essentially a nice zip up sweater, right? And what we've been seeing in the trend is we're looking with dress shirt underneath. And sometimes you see folks rocking a tie with that. But today I'm rocking the quarter zip right now with just a t-shirt underwear. It's just a little bit more of a laid back way of showing up and still be able to express self in an authentic way.
Got you. And why are black men embracing that? Because I remember like back in the 90s, I remember like the late 80s, early 90s, the quarter zips were hot. So why are black men loving it in 2025, about to be 2026?
Again, as I just mentioned before, I think it's just that black men wants to show up that we're very diverse, man, and the way we can show up, we can still be our true authentic self with our own swagger. And yet still be able to control the boardroom, right? And show up in a professional manner. It's really shifting everyone's minds on how black men are seen, and that we can also navigate in the corporate world, if you will. And so I think that's the main reason why that this shift is happening.
Got you. Great information, man. I had to come out the gate with the quarter zip because I was talking to my buddy yesterday. He was talking about the quarter zip, and then I saw one of my friends from the Boys and Girls Clubs. Her husband had a quarter zip on. I was like, "Oh, they back? Oh, I didn't even know they was back." But I started seeing it; it's a trend. So I said, "Let me see what's up with Dundee out of the Windy City, man." So let's talk about you real quick, man. Managing
Before we
director.
jump in, if you don't mind, I think it also symbolizes it signals just readiness, right? By like showing up and polished and intentional, right? It just represents the desire to look like the version of yourself that you're working towards, and it's also a visual, cue for aspirations, responsibility, and also personal development. That's the thing that I think a lot of the time people are. If you're looking that extra step deeper on why this trend is catching on, that's probably what I would also say to that.
Great information. I appreciate that, man. You out of Hyde Park, Chicago. We done had a few guests come from Hyde Park. My friend Emily Barr came out of Hyde Park, Chicago. So, she put me on to it. But you're the managing director of Northwestern Mutual, man. You came from Florida, from Haiti. So how did you go from Florida to Chicago?
Well, listen, what's interesting, I was at Northwestern Mutual already, running a financial practice down in South Florida, and really just heard about the heart of the managing partner for Northwestern Mutual in Chicago. And I think it was a self of reflection on where can I make an impact, a true impact. And when I realized that his heart was to plant a office in the south side of Chicago, was really underserved. And so I did some research, realizing that there is a big wealth gap that exists in the south side of Chicago. But I didn't want to come here and just sound like everybody else, because we know about the wealth gap. It's usually the conversations is going to start around how do the top one percenters give to the bottom. And I feel like we've been stuck in that pattern for over 160 plus years. And if we continue the same conversation, we're also going to get stuck for another 160 years. So I said, how can we be different in this particular moment? So we were able to do the math and kind of see, okay, where are the average African American families, and what is the gap between them and any other race ethnicities, if you will, and how can we bridge the wealth gap? And we found an opportunity to where we can make $1 billion economic impact. And the way we do that is for the everyday folks to kind of find a way to be able to put away at the bare minimum of 10%, even though most of our philosophy will build around putting away 20% for your future. And the average individual on the south side of Chicago at that time was making only $30,000. I know there's a myth out there that financial advisors only work with the wealthies, but it's for everyday common folks. And so when we did that research, realizing that someone making $30,000, if we ask them to put 20% based on our philosophy for the future, that's about $6,000 in a year. That's $500 a month. That's very difficult to do. However, if we just peel it back and we say, what if they can do at least half of that, which is about $250? A lot of the times, if we're thinking about our backgrounds and churches asking them, people putting away 10%, we just say, what if we ask people just to put 10% for themselves and their families? And we were able to see, by simply taking 3,500 individuals, helping them put away $250 a month away, which is much more doable than $500, we can make $1 billion economic impact. And that will move the needle in terms of bridging the wealth gap. Now, that's a challenge that we took on. And that was the initiative that I share with a managing partner, that if I should decide to come on board here, that's something that's near and dear to me, and I want to make a difference. And so that's how we end up making that move, and the reason why we make this move.
Oh, that's great information, man. It's holiday season. I feel like a lot of young brothers, contact me. Hey, man, it's Christmas time. There's no way I'm going to be able to put my 250 or my 500 away. I need to buy my wife, my kids some Christmas gifts. So let's talk about emergency funds, because I feel like, with my financial advisor, when I set up with him, I was so concerned about setting up my stocks and setting up my traditional IRA and my Roth. He was like, wait, hold on, bro. You need an emergency fund first. You need at least a G in that. I was like, what? He was like, I said, I just want to invest. He was like, nah, put a G in your emergency fund first, and then we could play after that. So let's talk about, from your point of view, coming from Northwestern Mutual, for brothers that are wanting to start an account. They don't have one. They want to start saving right now. Like tomorrow, they want to say, okay, I want to set up an emergency fund. What minimum would you recommend?
I think you said the word several times as you were just describing it. I think it's to start. You got to make a decision first, right? I think the number is less relevant than the actual decision. Decision is way more important, because with the decision you can build consistency. The number doesn't really matter, because if I say I want to start saving for my emergency, 10 grand a month, well, it might not be ideal, right? If right now all I can do is $100 to $200, up to 500 or even 1,000 a month, just start. That's the most important part. I think the decision to start saving is the most important part, and then gradually, through automated transfers, if you will, or system that you can put in place, so where you don't have to think about it, that it's actually being done and it feels like it's a habit that you're establishing, is really where to start. Like just really just to think through of ways of doing that is going to allow you to feel a lot more freedom as you move through your day-to-day life.
Let's also talk about like the discipline, because I noticed for me, it's great to be on Black Men Sundays and say, oh, I'm gonna put this money away, but then when that money start hitting every month, you be like, whoa, oh. But then after about a few months, you kind of get in a rhythm where it's like, okay, this is what it is. But I'm just saying for brothers that, especially young brothers that want to begin investing, especially when we talk about investing long term, what type of discipline is needed? Because, like I said, for me, when I first started, like the first 3, 4 months, I was like, well, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this. Like, because I kind of was looking to use some of that now, but it's gone. And then you have to
Mhm.
call somebody to get the money. It's not like, oh, I can just log in and click it. No, you got to call somebody and explain why you taking it out. That's a little different. So let's talk about the discipline to be able to, invest long term.
Yeah, I think investments is a tool, and I think that's the first thing that people have to think about, right? It starts with your goals. Like if you don't have a goal in mind and you can see it, almost feel it, almost taste it. I always ask my clients that I work with is like, what are your goals? Give it to me vividly. Describe it to me. Right? If you were given a blank canvas, tell me what you'd be doing at that time. Because if you're just investing just for the sake of investing, it is easier to have some sort of temptation to tie your emotions to that investment. But if you have a long-term goal and you know where you aspire to be, it's a little bit easier to be able to withstand that. Even though you may say, "Man, I don't have access to this," but you know it's set up for your best interest because even if you don't have access to it, well, it's because it's tied to a vision of yours, some sort of future goals that you have or lifestyle that you desire. And so I think the first place people should start to look into is like your workplace. I think a lot of the time people forget that even at most jobs today, you have opportunities to be able to invest, like a 401k. And through the 401k, most employers offer some sort of employer match. And I think when I talk about this with my clients, I say, hey, listen, an employer match is probably the highest rate of return you're going to get right away outside of the stock market. Because if you are getting a dollar for dollar match from your employer up to a certain amount, that means you're getting 100% rate of return essentially for every dollar you put in there. The stock market does not average 100% rate of return, right? The rest is essentially is on top of that of what's happening in the stock market when you invest, right? So that's free money on the table. Let's not leave that out there. And if that's not available, really just use simple vehicles like a Roth IRA, traditional IRA, but really prioritizing consistency over amount. Small regular contributions really do add up. And use a goal-based planning to determine which investments that fits your timeline based on what you want for your life.
Got great information. I appreciate that, man. And for the brothers listening that says, okay, I want to start investing like tomorrow. I've never done it. I have some money that I'm, you know, lollygagging with that I can
Mhm.
invest in my future. So for brothers that are like, listen, man, I want to get started tomorrow, but I don't know what to do. I don't know who to call. What advice do you have?
Well, I think the first thing is one as a company, we have offices all over the place. So there's definitely going to be local offices through Northwestern Mutual that you can connect to. We're in Chicago, right? We have our office in Hyde Park, so it's open to the public. Really, our office doors open from 8:30 and close down at 5 p.m. But I would say start with an advisor. And the best way I would say to connect with an advisor is unless you go out and seek them yourself and you interview them, get it through a mutual connection. The reason why I say that is a mutual connection can allow you to build trust a little bit quicker with that individual because your mutual connection could share with you about their unique experiences, and at least that person could come in with some form of credibility. And majority of people, as human beings that we are, we tend to hang out with people that are similar to us most of the time. So you'll find somebody that's similar to you because you truly have to get comfortable with your advisor because they're going to be in this journey with you, not just today, but also long term as well.
Great information, man. And like I said, we in the holiday season. A lot of brothers are like, I kind of want to get started, but you know what? I might just wait till January, man. I need to buy these gifts. I need to make sure my family and my kids are happy. What do you have to say about that?
Oh man, like I said, don't let another year pass you by and get stuck in the same mindset that most people get caught into. It's almost like your weight goals, right? A lot of the time you hear people that said, "Hey, I want to start my diet plan, my fit journey, if you will, in the beginning of January." And I say to people, "Why don't you start now?" Because if you start now, you create a consistent habit, right? And so you can roll into the year with that consistency. If you're just starting off the year, it's going to feel good, but it's going to be the first 30 days, right? It's not in the first 30 days you get to have that struggle, if you will. It's really when it comes month 2, month 3. So if you can be consistent during the holidays where everybody else is spending money, at some points could be more than what you have. Well, when the times are easier and the dust settle, you would already be rock and rolling, right? And so I would probably say it's best to start thinking and planning and deciding to make that decision today rather than waiting until the beginning of the year, because you don't know what the future might hold, especially if you're starting off with an emergency fund.
That emergency fund for me was a big deal because at first, like I said, I was coming in the game. I just wanted to get right to the Roth, ready to go on and do that invest. I wanted that aggressive plan. I wanted them peaks and valleys to be a little thicker than normal. And he was like, "Nah, man, you need to get that emergency fund set up first." And I'm glad I did because an emergency actually happened that I wasn't prepared for, and I actually was able to use some of that money, but I put it back though, but I was able to use it. So that definitely came. So I'm gonna ask you one more question. I'm gonna let my brother Kalali engage with you. So one thing
Sure.
that I noticed with trends and confidence, a lot of brothers wearing the quarter zips looking fly, but financially, they're not as financially confident because
Mm.
their financial health is lacking. So what can we do to make sure that our quarter zip with the outfit on and that we're making sure that our credit scores and our financial health is all balanced together?
Yeah, I think, man, if I had to think through that question, I would say you gotta set up some sort of spending boundary, if you will. Let's start with that because we have to like boil this down to its simplicity, which is just a monthly budget. You'll be surprised, man. I work with people that makes all types of money, and it doesn't matter if they're super rich or not, or if they're just living paycheck to paycheck. Just the simplicity of managing a monthly budget can save you a ton of headaches. And I think that's the first thing. It's like, how do we set up a spending boundary for our lifestyle, and really purchasing that you want to remove things that doesn't really compromise your savings, if you will. Does that make sense? And so I think that's where it starts first, right? And then follow a saving first, spend second mantra. That really helps a lot because if you do that, then you're paying yourself first, right? And understanding the difference between upgrading your appearance, as you mentioned, the quarter zip, and upgrading your financial habits kind of, believe it or not, goes together. I think the quarter zip catches on is because people understand like this is like the upgrade version of myself, if you will, right? It's like it's a new me. And so use the trend as a motivation, not necessarily a pressure. And so it doesn't lose its power.
All right, cool. All right, Caleb, Jim, y'all got anything? Let's get it.
Hey, how you doing? This is Kalali Dogbe out of Calvert County, Maryland. How you doing? First and
Doing
foremost,
well. Doing
that's
well,
good.
brother. Doing well. Good to see you.
Yeah, good to see you as well. Gotta thank you for spending some time with us on this Sunday. You know what I mean, to share some information with us. So definitely appreciate that.
Yes, sir.
First question I got for you, I guess it's a general question. So we hear a lot of things about money. Like money is a tool, money is, currency, money is this. What do you think is the biggest, I guess, thing that people should understand about money that maybe many people are missing?
You said it already. I think money is a tool, for sure, and we just got to understand how do we use money, right? It's a form of how we trade products, services, make purchases. But I think how we use money is very crucial, because if we don't necessarily manage it appropriately, this is where a lot of the wealth gap started, right, with not managing it appropriately. And so that's why I give that recommendation earlier to start with the budget. If you have your dollars assigned to each objectives in your household, it makes it a lot easier to manage your finance. And so if think about your job, how every person at a job has an assignment, right? And so if you treat your money as though, it's an employee for you, it's a bit easier mindset to make sure that, hey, listen, everything is aligned for. And part of that line item is going to be your savings, right? That part of that line item is for your investing. So if you know your money is an employee and it needs to work for your saving, it needs to work for your investments, it needs to work to pay the house, the kids' school, all of that stuff, then it makes it easier to understand that it's no longer something that I'm working for. Rather, it's working for me.
Nah, I really love that description, that illustration of like money being a worker that's working for you. Actually, I think in a previous, this might have been months ago, previous conversation we had, I said that I felt the same way just because I had like come into like a lump sum of money, right? But I didn't have no plan for that money, so it eventually started going out to different things, and it was like that's when it kind of hit me like you got to think of like every dollar as like an employee, and what comes with an employee. Well, first you got to have like a purpose for that employee, like why are you hiring this person? You know what I'm saying? But then secondly, you got to understand on the back end that employee comes with costs too. Like you have to maintain that money. So like I'm throwing it in the savings account, but inflation, you know what I'm saying, is eating into my money, or now I gotta pay taxes on it, or now this and that. So it started eating it into the money. So like, what do you think about, I guess stretching the illustration a little more? What do you think about what I said in collaboration with that?
Yeah, I mean, you're right. As an employee, you do have, uh, I guess you could say, acquiring costs when you're bringing on employees, and if you don't have assignment for them, then essentially you're bringing on somebody to your job business that you run, um, and you're just acquiring expenses. If you just hire somebody without any definition or description of what their job title or job role is. And so it's the same thing with your money. I think a lot of the time when people acquire money, especially if it's a large sum of money that they weren't expecting, the easiest mistake that happens is that they feel as though they can take on new things, and so you have more of a taste to buy that car that you've always wanted, or just making a purchase that was not necessarily in the plan currently. And so that's where I see a lot of clients make mistakes. Where if you were able to have a budget, have what you desire, where you want the money to go prior to arriving, now the money just happened to be the answer to what you were looking to do, similar to a job, right? Like you have a problem, you know exactly what's needed to fix that problem. Once that employee shows up, the description should be a bit easier for you to be able to say, okay, here's what your schedule look like. From this time to this time, I need you here. This is what you're going to do. And then on the back end, you'll know what success look like. So it's the same thing with money. If money shows up in your day-to-day life, especially if it's money that you weren't used to, like money that you weren't expecting that just shows up, then it's like, okay, now my job or business just got an infused capital. Well, I better handle that pretty well so that way we can continue to expand. Same thing with your life. Look at yourself as though you were an LLC. I get that money that comes in, that's infused capital, right?
Hmm.
And now I got to make that capital work for me. So if I decided to take that money and whether it's savings, whether it's investing, I need to earn more money, because if it just sits on a sideline, then guess what's going to happen, as you just mentioned? Tax is going to take away from that. Inflation is going to take away. Temptation of spending it on things that I
Yeah.
shouldn't be spending it on. All of that
Yeah.
exists.
Yeah, no, definitely appreciate that. Yeah, because that's what happened to me. I'm not even gonna lie, that's what happened to me. It was all of a sudden all these things started eating into it, and then like you said, temptation. Now you spending, you got like, well, I got another couple extra, whatever. You know what I'm saying? I can buy
And
this.
you start wearing this quarter zip, people gonna start hitting you up and be like, "Hey man, I know you got a little extra change. Why don't you say something my way?"
Yeah, you feel me? So then it was like I was like, look, I didn't even have no plan for this money, and now it's gone out to places I don't even know where half of it went. You know what I mean? So
Yeah,
definitely.
yeah,
I'm getting the point though. You create that plan, you create that budget, and then when money like that comes in, you'll know better where to place it, as opposed
exactly.
to yeah. That's awesome. My second my next question for you really is. something for me on a personal level, just as I'm helping other, because I actually like help other people, like I run a financial management class through my church, you know what I mean? And so like, but I'm not a financial advisor,
Sure.
but I've been looking into how to acquire that knowledge. So I was wondering if you could provide any insight on how long it takes to be a financial advisor, and whether that's actually the right lane for me. Like, should I be looking to get that kind of additional financial information? Because people are asking me questions about that kind of stuff, but I'm like, look, my first disclaimer is I'm not a financial advisor. You know what I'm saying? I
I
can
hear
tell
you.
you my opinion based on
Mhm,
like different people I've talked to and things like that, and different resources that I've read. But again,
mhm.
up front, I'm not a financial advisor. But I've been looking into it, saying, well, maybe I should start thinking about, at least acquiring that knowledge base. So if you could shed some light on that, I appreciate it.
Well, what I really appreciate is the fact that you start off with saying that, hey, there's disclaimer there. I'm not a financial advisor. With today's
Yeah.
technology, everyone on the internet tries to show up on the internet as though they are financial advisors, and it's unfortunate because in our industry, we there's certain things we just can't say because it's just not factual, and it's highly regulated. And so, being that it's highly regulated as advisors, when we carry licenses, we're taking an oath. It's a noble work. So I appreciate you starting off by saying the disclaimers first. But I would probably say if you have an interest, a desire of helping people with their, financial outcomes, if you will, yeah, go on that path, man. Just get your license. I say if you're going to get your license, be well rounded, right? Majority of the industry, you often hear either getting your investment license, and others would say, hey, get your insurance license. I say get both, right? Because if you are able to get both, you can provide comprehensive planning to families. That it's not necessarily they only talk to you for one aspects of finance, but you can essentially grow to become their trusted advisor for all things in their lives. And so that'd be the first thing I would tell you, because I can give you health advice, but I'm not a physician, nor would I ever be. And so I love the fact that you start with that. So when you get your license, there are some things that you're gonna definitely learn to be able to help families, but also understand why rules and regulations exist to protect the population so that people are not doing things that are wrong. So I really do appreciate that. And you're doing a great job. So if you're doing that at your church, that's amazing, right? Each one's teach one. I kind of like that. But there's a lot of books out there outside of just getting your license that you can learn. One of which I really like is The Power of Zero. I really like that book. It's by David McKnight, and it just teaches you how to mitigate a lot of your taxes. And it's a very simple book. It's written from like a third grade reading level, if you will. And the book is really tiny. So this isn't go and read a novel kind of deal. It's not a Harry Potter book. It's very small, and that everybody can learn from it a bit. But there's several other books I can bring up as well, like Why the Rockefellers. We can talk about, the Rich Dad Poor Dad. We can go on and on, but it's just several tools that are out there. But do the research yourself. And if you want to go one step further, yeah, go and get the license. I would encourage you, but do it for the right reason. If you're doing it just, I'm in the financial industry. It is a lucrative industry to be in as an advisor, but I think those who go into it with the genuineness of helping others succeed a lot longer, have a lot more clients, and stay in the industry for decades on end, because your initial reason for doing it is other focus rather than selfish outcomes.
My interest in it isn't even about the money involved in it. It's just that, like I said, I've already been helping people with finances at my church and stuff like that, and I just want to be able to have. I want to be able to have more knowledge about it. I want to be more knowledgeable. Like you said, there may be regulations that I don't know about that, I could be going across, or whatever the case might be, or making other people aware of. You know what I mean? And that's the kind of sort of information I don't know. So it's more of like having more information so I can help people more. And I mean, if there's money that comes along with that, that's great, but that's not really at all like why I'm interested in, or even talking about it at all. And then could you give me like a time frame, or is it one of those things that it's like an individual by individual basis because it depends on like what work?
honestly, for me, man, I don't necessarily look for advisors based on just their um, background in finance.
Mhm.
As funny that may sound, I look for um, the human being aspect because everything can be taught. Okay, I share that
Oh,
because all I'm looking for is, do you have a vision, and is the vision about helping others? Do you have a strong work ethic? As an individual, are you a coachable? And are you willing to be able to put in the work and help others, right, to make an impact? Once you have those as a yes to me, the rest can be taught. That's literally what I look for in seeing if somebody's going to be a part of my team or not. Right?
okay.
It's those components because everything else can be taught. And at Northwestern Mutual, we really pride ourselves on our training. And so we're not looking for people to essentially be coming from the financial background or you study finance at all. If you have a appetite for being an entrepreneur, you want to be in a position where you get to dictate the level of impact you want to have while not minimizing your ability to earn income and provide for your family as well. That's really it. That's what I look into.
Okay.
And
Cool.
our vision, the reason why it's really important for folks like you and I that look like you and I to be in this work is when we talk about bridging the wealth gap, we got to also talk about bridging the wealth knowledge, right? And I think people that are from our own communities can relate to people in our community because they understand the struggle, right? Like if you take somebody from afar who never walk in your shoes, understand the struggles that you walk into, it's kind of hard to really relate to that individual. And so I recruit folks that look like you and I. Now I got people that don't look like me part of my team as well. But I have a big passion of helping Black individuals to get involved into this industry because we understand that there's a wealth of knowledge that exists, and it's up to us to be able to go back to also to bridge that knowledge gap that exists to be able to make the work happen.
Cool, man. Yeah, definitely appreciate that, man. Thanks. I mean, that's all the questions I got for you today, man. But I'd like I said, definitely appreciate you spending some time with us on Black Men Sunday today.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, if you all want to follow my office as well, I have Hyde Park underscore NM on Instagram. I'm also Dundee Gwen on Instagram as well. You can follow me on Instagram, and you'll see a lot of our advisors that we're promoting, and it's people from all walks of life. A big thing that I also am pushing right now is Black women to get involved. When we're thinking about from the entrepreneurship perspective, Black women are more involved in businesses than ever. It's the fastest growing ethnicity in terms of entrepreneurship in America, and yet we don't have even 1% of Black women in the financial industry, which makes no sense to me. Because if you're thinking about the household when it comes to financial planning, the man may go out and get the bacon, but it's the wife that cooks it. And so a lot of financial decisions that are being made, women are the ones who heavily influence that. And yet, as they go out and build their own businesses, they're not looking into the financial industry as an opportunity. Where at Northwestern Mutual, we provide that platform to be an entrepreneur, but also to be able to make a community impact and have the ability to earn as much as you want if you were any other business owners. And so I'm really big on that. And you'll see that I highlight that on social media a lot because I want people to understand that what you think of a financial advisor should look like. I want to make sure that our team is definitely like showing you that no, they're just common folks just like you and I.
Dundee, man. You enjoying yourself on all Black Men Sundays, brother?
Oh man, this is amazing, man. I was looking forward to it, man. Hearing about you guys. I had a buddy of mine, Steve, hit me up and he was like, "Hey, man, we're gonna be with this fellas." I'm like, "Man, I'm excited. I'm excited." And so when you hit me up, and I was like, "Hey, I thought I was on the right time zone." I said, "Man, let me go and jump on here, man." And then my laptop started booting up like AOL, if y'all remember back in the day.
Yeah, for sure, man. I appreciate that, man. I was excited to have you on the show. Definitely wanted you to come and tell your story. You already told us how we can contact you, and give us that information one more time so we can
Sure,
write.
absolutely. And so you could find me on Instagram at Dundee Gwen, which is DundeeGouin. And then as far as our office is concerned, you can find us as Hyde Park underscore NM on Instagram. Um, and on Facebook, we're at Hyde Park Northwestern Mutual, which is that page. And the same thing for my Facebook page is Dundee Gwen. Keep it very simple for everybody.
We've had a lot of financial advisors. We've had a lot of Northwestern Mutual advisors on the show as well from all over the country, Nashville.
Hmm.
But one thing that I ask every financial advisor, including my own, before I pick them,
Hmm.
when you're selecting a financial and you alluded to it gently about get someone that's you have a mutual relationship with that can guide you, but if we can take it a step further when we're
Yeah.
talking about, okay, I'm trusting this person with these monthly amounts of income that I'm getting,
Hmm.
because some guys say, well, why do I need a financial advisor? I could do it myself on Robinhood, Coinbase. I could do it myself. But for
Hmm.
me, when I did it myself, I got a little emotional. Like, it's tanking. It's tanking so bad. I gotta sell it.
Yep.
But you know what I mean? So I had to kind of get someone that says, okay, this is the money. And then I wanted to have someone to where, okay, if I needed to touch the money, I
Hmm.
wanted somebody to, well, why do you need it, Corey? Are you sure you need it now? Just a want, or like I wanted that versus let me just go on the computer, click, 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 and I can do what I want with it. Because then I'm back to zero again. So when we're
Yep.
talking about selecting an advisor, and I gave you my, not really trying to do that, but I kind of gave you what I look for in an advisor. But for
Yep.
brothers that don't have one,
Yeah.
what should they look for? And what are some red flags?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you. I can tell you a lot of them. The first thing I would say is you got to get someone that you're comfortable with. Like our personalities got to click. That's the first thing I got to say. Like if our personalities is a click, you don't want to be seeing your financial advisor like, yo, I don't feel comfortable around this person. Just socially, we're not connecting. Personality's not going well. Like forget the knowledge first. You just got to be comfortable with that person. You can be yourself. Like think about how all of us are having a conversation today. I'm being me, you're being you, right? And you got to be able to be your authentic self. That's number one. Number two, I would say hear the advisor's philosophy. And by hearing their philosophy and how they go about planning, that's going to let you know, does that align with who I am, right? Is that the type of plan that I want to see myself inside of, right? Is that how I want to go about my money, right? Find out about their core values as human beings, right? Because if I can't trust you as a person, how you run your life, that's gonna bring about some concern for me about my money. Outside of your parents and outside of your spouse and your kids, money is gonna be another top relationship in your life, right? People correlate money and relationship as a high stake as a human being, right? So you want to make sure that you just want to know understand what's the core values of that individual. And then as far as like experience, you want to find out, hey, what are the types of licenses do you possess, right? Um, how often do you sit down with your clients, right? What are the purpose of you sitting down with your clients? How many firms have you been a part of, right? Because if I'm a consumer and you're going from one firm to another firm to another firm, that's going to raise a little bit of a red flag for me. Why are you hopping so many different firms? What's the cause? What's the issue, right? For that. And so I think those are a good list of questions to ask. And it doesn't hurt to say, hey, how long have you been doing this and how many clients you currently have, to kind of solidify some of that experience for you to understand, right? And if the advisor is asking you more question about yourself and him just trying to tell you about products, that's my number one flag is if you're focusing more about products than education and planning, that's a red flag. That means it's all about you. It's not about me.
So Dundee
Okay.
Gwen, man, you're from Haiti, came to South Florida, moved to Chicago. Let's talk about your journey from Haiti to South Florida.
Yeah. So originally born in Haiti, man. Left my mom in Haiti, and my mom's only child. So and I left Haiti at the age of 11, and I moved to South Florida with my dad, and in 2001. And in fact, when we moved here, English was in fact my third language, and so I didn't know any English at all. And while we were living out there, So I went to high school, and I just saw a lot of families that were um, impacted by finances, and I just never understand like why is that always a common um, problem amongst our community. And I saw it stretch beyond immigrants to even Americans, just the average day American who's struggling to even understand their finances. And so while I was in high school, I got introduced to the tax collector of the county that I used to live at, and that's like you understanding the background of money and how it operates an entire county. So I worked for her while I was in high school as a tax collector's assistant, and then I ended up leaving there to go play some football in college, and return back home. And while I was working there, I was like, man, what's the next step that I can take in my life's journey, career? And by going to a church, I was introduced to another black dude who was working at Northwestern Mutual. And funny enough, he didn't even tell me he was a financial advisor. I was actually just attracted to him based on how well dressed he was, right? So you guys were talking about earlier about, you know, we were talking about quarter zip, right? He just rocked a nice suit, and I was like, man, I always felt like I was overdressing for the role that I had, and so people used to ask me, why do I overdress? And I say, I'm dressing for the role in which I'm being called and not the one that I currently have. So when I asked this gentleman, I saw him and I said, hey man, what do you do for work? He says, I'm a financial advisor. And to be honest with you, there was fear that overwhelmed me when he said that, because uh, I didn't go to school specifically for finance. I went to school for business, and finance was not my area of study, if you will. And he's like, why you're fearful of that? And he really just boiled it back to those five things I describe as, hey, do you have a vision? Do you want to help others? Do you have a strong work ethic? And do you have a desire to make an impact in the community? And that just hit home for me. And so I decided to say, you know what, I'm going to step into this space. And I got married at a very early age to a beautiful woman. I was 21, she was 19, man. And this year coming up, we're going to be 15 years married with 3 kids. And she was the one who saw um, what I could essentially achieve and impact the community in which we were at. And we were able to take that leap of faith into Northwestern Mutual and align with them. And my reason for stepping into this area is because I get to be me, right? I get to be my authentic self and to be able to make an impact in where I desire, right? It's not necessarily mandated by a company or an organization, but it's driven by vision and purpose. And so, and that's where this whole journey ended up carrying me to being here today in Chicago.
And before I let you go, man, when you were talking about, you said this is your spiritual journey. I think that's interesting because a lot of guests
Yeah.
that we've had on the show, all say that they took the walk on with faith to be able to get in the position they're in because they went through some things to get there
You
as
want me to get that
entrepreneurs.
real with you, bro? We gonna get that real, okay?
Oh yeah, let's
I,
go.
let's do it. So I've done some cool things within the first 7 years while I was at Northwestern Mutual and trying to figure out what was the next step. And when the Chicago situation came up, truth be told, Chicago is a new area. I don't have any family members in Chicago. My closest thing that I have related to Chicago is the fact that it was a city that's founded by a Haitian, and I'm Haitian myself. So that's the closest thing that we got. But I went on a spiritual journey with God because I was like, Lord, why this opportunity? And I said, you know what? The best way to hear your voice is through fasting. So I went on a 21-day fast before I make this decision to come to Chicago. And at that 21-day was the best spiritual journey I could ever have gone through, to the point where in my first 10 days, man, it was almost like I wasn't working. Like I didn't have a desire to work, but also seeking the Lord and just trying to really hear his voice. And the 21-day was so good to the point where I asked God, like, we got to go into 40 days. I went 40 days. Now it's not 40 days straight. It's 12 hours every single day. But really, I was just trying to make sure that I'm not making a step based on my own selfish desire and motive. And what I felt like was God was telling me that if I don't go, it will be a direct disobedience. And at the end of that 40-day journey, what I walk away from is a few questions that boils in my mind. And the first is, when I do get a chance to meet my Creator, my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, my one question I'm going to ask Him is, what would have been the greatest version of me for you? And I did not want Him to start that sentence by saying, remember, you've done great, right? But remember that one time, I presented you an opportunity with Chicago, but you allowed fear to overtake you rather than my words and to trust me to walk alongside with you. Here's the impact of the people you could have changed their trajectory in their lives. That would have gotten either A, closer to me, multiple generations would be better off because I sent you. I didn't want him to show me that, and I let fear ruin that. And to a lot of people making this decision, it seems as though it was a mistake professionally, because I was doing really well in South Florida. I got nominated as a top 250 financial advisors for Northwestern Mutual nationally, one of 8 African Americans to ever do that at that time, and the first Black person to ever do it for my firm that I was at in Florida. My team that I was leading was a top 10 team in the nation. And I decided to leave all of that, uprooted my family, my wife, and my 3 kids, to move to a city to which I have no family, to take an office to which doesn't have an advisors, and we're scratch. Like, it was just me launching it. And so what I was convicted with is, even if this move was a professional mistake, I still did the right move because I heard his voice. And that's okay with me. And then the last thing I would say is, one day my daughter's going to grow up and she's going to bump into somebody in the street. And I want her to feel proud to know that, who her father was and the work that I do. And so that maybe one day somebody may say, hey, if it wasn't for your dad, I wouldn't be here where I am today because he worked with my mom or my grandparents or so forth and so on. So those 2 scenarios really what drives me every single day, man. It's what would be the greatest version of me for God? I don't want to miss out on that question. And the second is making sure that my kids can one day walk around and meeting anybody in the street and basically know that their dad did the right thing when he was here.
Wow, that's great information, man. I think
Yeah.
that sums it up. I was going to say, is there anything I didn't ask you that you wanted to touch on before I let you get out of here?
Um, no, man, we're really excited about, where we're going as an office right now. I think our vision is calling for 45 advisors here locally in the Chicago area. And so if you know anyone, or if you're watching or listening to this, and you know anyone in the Chicago area that you believe can make an impact in the community, feeling like they're in a position where they've been thinking about making a career shift, or they're looking for something deeper, right? I think in this season, a lot of people are testing, where they're at in life. And I often say it's always going to define by, your level of fulfillment and your level of reward and impact. And so if you're seeking the right impact or reward, but you have a very low fulfillment, maybe consider this industry. And we're looking for 45 advisors to be able to help us service these 3,500 Black families who are trying to make an impact in their lives to bring that $1 billion economic impact. That's the legacy that we're trying to build here. And we're the first Fortune 100 office to ever exist in the South Side of Chicago. And I happen to be the first Black managing director in that firm's history, which has been servicing the Chicago market since 1872. So I'm really honored and grateful for that opportunity. And so if you know anybody that could be a part of this journey, we'll be grateful for you to make the introduction.
Well, there we have it. Dundee Gwen, man, Managing Director, Northwestern Mutual, Chicago, Hyde Park. I appreciate you, your time
Yes,
coming
sir.
on Black Men Sundays, brother, and enjoy your week.
Thank you, brother. Appreciate you guys, man. Keep doing your thing, and keep making the impact and bringing the knowledge to the people. I can sense you guys are very genuine about what you do. And so I hope all the audience that listens to you all can truly sense some of that, because you guys are bringing complex topics that most people may not necessarily understand. And you bring it, making it simple, and bringing the experts alongside of you to be able to bring that credibility as well, and not taking it all on your own. So kudos to you guys. You guys are doing an amazing job. and continue to make the impact that you do.
It's a black man Sunday. Time to put